Hello everybody. I'm posting this video for you all in the 3D modeling class to show you how you can set up your virtual studio with front, side, and top view of a three-dimensional object that then you can use to model your project. As I showed you in class, there are 3 steps to set this up, and hopefully this video will help you for your future projects as a resource guide to set your studio up. Now I've opened up my 3ds Max, and the 3 steps that I'm going to take here to set this project up is going to be first bringing the materials and setting up the materials that I'm going to use on each of the walls of my virtual studio. Then I'm going to create the walls, and then I'm going to register the walls so that they match. So the first step is setting up your virtual studio. So first thing first, click on the material editor, and the material editor of your 3ds Max will pop open. If for some reason, if you click on the material editor and your slate material editor opens up, we're not going to use the straight material editor for this case. We're going to use the standard version. So if this opens up, don't panic. Close this up. Move your mouse again over the material editor. That's one of the icons in your viewport. If you don't see it, you can go to the rendering and click on the material editor and choose the compact material editor. If your slate material editor opens up and you wanted to use it compact material editor from the toolbar, you can click on the material editor icon. When the window pops open, you choose the top one. That's your compact material editor. I showed you 2 ways to get to it. I'm going to use 3 materials to set my material up. So first is bringing in the map that I'm going to use. That is basically the image that I'm going to use. To get to it, next to the diffuse map, you can click on the square that says none on it, and that'll open your bitmap selection. If it's collapsed, you can click on the standard on the maps and then expand it, and click on standards, expand it, and then double click on bitmap. It opens up a window for you to choose, then navigate to where the images are. I basically put the 3 images, the top, left, and front view of my brass swan on desktop. So click on it and open it. And once this is open, you'll be able to apply this to your object in the scene. So the next thing to do is to show the material in the viewport. Click on the Show Shaded Material in Viewport. And that'll enable the shading in viewport for this material. Repeat the same process. Click on the next material and click on the diffuse map. Double click on the bitmap and then choose the other view. So in this case, I'm going to bring the left and click on Show in Viewport. Move to the next material. Click on the map. Click on the bitmap. Double click on it, and then go drag in the third material, which will be the top view of the front view of my swan. And then click on Show Shaded Material in Viewport. So this is fine so far. Next, I'm going to create 2 other materials that then I'll use for my swan. One is going to be a blue colored material. So I'm going to, this time, instead of clicking on the map, I'm going to click on the color. And then when swatch opens up, I'm dragging a kind of red material, and I want this material to be see-through, so I'm going to make it 40% opaque. I'm going to create another material, and this time I'm going to make it blue, kind of like that, and I'll make this not be see-through. So these are my materials. Now that I'm good, I'm going to drag this out of my view, and then I'm going to now create the planes for my materials to apply to. So go to Geometry, Shapes, Geometry, Standard Shapes, Standard Primitives, Planes. Create a plane in the front viewport, one in the top viewport, and then one in the left viewport. Now that I have my planes created, I'm going to click on each of these planes, go to its modifier, and make its segments to be 1 in X and Y. I apply the same thing to my other planes, make them 1 height and 1 length segment. That is, again, you click on your planes in each of the viewports, go on to the Modify tab, expand the Parameters tab, and then make length and width segments 1. Now that I have these created, I'm going to go and bring in my material editor, and then I'm going to drag the top view of my material to the top plane, drag the left view of my material, my swan, to the left plane in the left viewport, and drag the front view to the plane in the front viewport. And the way that you can see that this material is used in the scene is if you see these little triangles on the corners of your materials in the material viewport, you'll know that these materials are used in the scene. I'm going to close or take the material editor out. Now, my materials are showing in my perspective view, but they are not showing in the other viewports. It's because the other viewports are on the view frame, wireframe, and my perspective viewport is in realistic. I'm going to make all of my materials, my viewports, to be shaded. Click on the second word next to the material, next to your viewport, and make them all shaded. Now you see all of these swans are looking pretty good on all viewports. The only thing is actually that the fact that the planes are kind of on top of each other, and I want them to be away from each other so I can work. So it's actually easy, this phase. You go to the perspective view, click on each of the viewports, and then drag it out on the appropriate axis. So click on the top viewport and drag it down on the Z-axis. Click on the front viewport, left viewport, and drag it out on the X-axis, and the Y viewport, the left viewport, and drag it out on the Y-axis, so that they are reasonably away from each other. So I have some 3D space to work with in the middle. Probably put the Z viewport way too down. So this is the second phase for my planes to be created. Now I have the walls to work with. There's one slight problem now, and that is that my pictures may not be quite aligned. Let me show you why. Go into your Geometry Creation tab and bring in a box. And then what I want you to do is to try to create a box in the top viewport that encompasses the body of this swan, kind of like this. So that's my top viewport. And I started from the bottom of the tail and drag it all the way to the front of this object. Then drag it up to kind of show the height of this swan. And when you have it, then left click for the box to be created. Now bring in your material editor and apply the see-through material to it. Now take the material editor out of your way. Now in the top viewport, it looks like this box contains the swan, right? That's good. In the other viewports, it's kind of sort of in the middle. So drag this box down, let's say in the left viewport, so that it now kind of contains your swan. The problem is, as you can see, these faces or these other views planes are off. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to try to fix the other two viewports so that my swan is reasonably inside this box. Okay. Now let's click on the scale button, expand it, and make it scale non-uniformly. and then drag it out so that it would at least look in such a way that your swan is inside the box in one of the viewports. So now in my front viewport, the height of the swan matches, but its width doesn't. In the top view, in the left viewport, in the front viewport, the width matches, but the height doesn't. And in the top viewport, it looks like it's matching. The next step is again to move now the other viewports. So go back to select and move, and drag your left viewport down and try to fit your left viewport. Now it's the time to scale and move the viewports for them to fit. Now in my front viewport, the height doesn't fit, so I'm going to expand it a little bit, and I'm going to make it a little bit wider too, and then move it up so that now in the front viewport, the swan reasonably fitting the box. Then I'm going to go in the left viewport. In the left viewport, the problem is that my swan in the x-axis doesn't fit. So I'm going to make the left viewport plane, not the box, the plane a little bit wider, and then move it so that the swan fits in the left viewport. See? Like so. So my swan fits in the left viewport. It also fits in the front viewport, maybe just a little off. A little bit bigger. Okay. And it also does fit in the top viewport. Maybe it needs to be a little bit out. Too much. Okay. And this spent the time a little bit to make it match in all of your viewports as close as you can get it. And when you're satisfied with the fit and the registration of all of your viewports, okay, when you are satisfied with that, then it's the time to freeze your objects. To do that, right-click on each of the planes, go to Object Properties, uncheck Show Frozen in Gray, click OK, or rather click on Freeze, and then click OK. This freezes the plane. Click on the next plane, right-click on it, Object Properties, uncheck Show Frozen in Gray, check Freeze, press OK. Click on your top view plane, Object Properties, uncheck Show Frozen in Gray, check Freeze, press OK. This freezes your views, your 3D Studio, so you won't be able to move it and accidentally mess your registration. And then at this time, since all the planes are now registered, there's no need for this box anymore. You can delete it. This concludes the steps for us to register the left, top, and front viewport of our 3D Studio, that then we can start working with building our swan. Well, I would like to thank you for listening to this video and watching this, and I hope that you can set your virtual studios for creating three-dimensional models off of two-dimensional planes, objects, for the rest of this class. And also, there's also on the Blackboard videos that show you how to set and box model the swan. And of course, we talked about box modeling the swan in class last time. From this point on, we will start working on modeling a character. I hope that this was an enjoyable video for you all, and I will see you in class next time. Thank you.